So what are the hallmarks? What are the ingredients of a truly great magic trick? That's the question magicians all over the world for centuries have been asking themselves and each other. And, I think they boil down to much the same answers. I'd say the first one is a clear effect. The effect is clear. Okay, people see it, they understand it, doesn't need a lot of words, visually supported. It's, in a sense, it's simple. When you think of the classics of magic, the linking rings, the floating ladies, and all these kinds of classic tricks that seem to live on forever in people's minds, they're simple, they're direct. Okay, that'd be one thing. Another thing I think is ease. Now, if something involves complicated sleight of hand, that's fine as long as you practice it and rehearse it enough until it gets to the point of easy for you. Okay? But whether it's simple initially with just a gimmick and a simple sleight or something like that, or it's very complicated, technically, sleight of hand, it needs to get to a place of ease. And the reason why that's so important is that's when you're going to give your best performances. When your thoughts are not on the secret methods, but when your thoughts are on the presentation and on connecting with the audience. Okay, I think that's very, very important. Because if you're not connecting with the audience through the trick, it's not going to be as strong a trick. Audience engagement is also huge. Very important to get people involved. When people are involved in a trick, that way it's real for them. They trust it. First, they're handling the items, whatever they're doing stuff. So there's this trust. There's this credibility, okay? There's an investment, a belief in what is going on, what they're doing. It's not so much just watching somebody else do something that's inexplicable. They are doing something that is inexplicable. So what do we have? We have clarity. We have ease. Audience involvement. Portability, I think, is very important, particularly, unless you want to have a moving truck or this kind of thing. You want a trick that's portable, something you can ideally carry in a pocket or even, share a pocket with a marker and the props, whatever. So I think portability, because ultimately, if a trick isn't performed, if you're not, as much as it could be cool, you and I both have a bunch of tricks. They're cool. They sit in our drawers. I'm talking desk drawers, not the drawers of our pants or underwear, that old phrase. They sit in our drawers and we never get to them. And one of the reasons is because they're not portable, or they're not easy, or they don't engage the audience. And, engaging the audience is also very important. I love card tricks, and I love coin tricks. And I love tricks with stuff like that. But I also love doing magic with borrowed objects or ordinary household objects, everyday objects, stuff that is already imbued, stuff that people already care about. Okay, I'm sure you can see where I'm going on this. I got a list here today. And maybe finally, and this is, I think, the real watermark, or the high water mark. This is a great test, anyway, of a truly wonderful trick. And something that happens with Ambitious Card, which is, just a monster trick. We all love it. Something that happens with Coins Across, something that happens actually with the linking rings, with all these strong classics of magic, and that is repeatability. When you can repeat a trick, when you can do something absolutely amazing, and then a moment later, the very thing they're thinking is, do that again. When you can make that unspoken wish a reality, well, that's magic. That's that next level. And that's what I was thinking about all of these elements when developing Spellbound. Ordinary objects, Scrabble pieces. People care about the pieces. Probably one of the world's most popular games. So everyone's handled the pieces. So they're engaged, they're interested, and they trust. They trust the items. And the fact that I'm going to show you how you can have all the pieces examined before kind of going into the trick and everything, is wonderful. So clarity, very simple. I'm actually going to show you a few different tricks you can do with the special collection of Scrabble pieces, both some mentalism and some magic, a few different things, okay? And they're all very clear. They're all very to the point, which leaves you room to present them, which makes them flexible. You can do it in the pub, at the bar. You can do it in the school lunchroom. You can do it for a couple of people. You can do it for 10 people sitting at a table. So there's that flexibility that comes with clarity, which is what I really like about this. Ease, you're going to see it's super easy. There's minimal sleight of hand required for this trick, okay? Very, very little. And again, it's going to free you up to be able to focus on having fun with that, and that your sense of fun will transfer to your audience. Audience involvement, both with the transposition I'm going to show you, where they get hold of a piece in their hand, or with some of the mentalism stuff where you predict the final letter arrived at, whether the specter is putting it in a glass and shaking or in their hand and shaking. They are involved from the start to the finish. So I love that. Portability, just a few Scrabble pieces, maybe a paper napkin or something like for the prediction, or your business card, you can write it on the. So very simple. Or not even that, you can whisper the prediction to somebody, which I'll mention that later on, that stuff. So super portable. And the repeatability. The fact that you can do it once, predict the letter under impossible conditions, where the items are totally randomized and one by one, narrowed down to one. The fact you can immediately repeat it and arrive at a different letter. Oh, that sells the first one so strong and the second one as well. And so I think you're going to find, especially if you keep these virtues, I think, of really, really commercial, practical, strong magical experiences. If you keep these virtues in mind as we explore this and I share this information with you, I think you're going to be able to really appreciate Spellbound all the more. You're going to find that along with a collection of 10 Scrabble pieces, we've included 6 4-color printed special labels, okay? And these are adhesive labels. These are, you'll find in a moment once you cut and peel these that there's no glue or tape required. These are ready to be adhered immediately. Now, if you look at the pieces carefully, you'll see that there are the collection. They're a very specific collection of pieces I put together here. So you can reveal a playing card for maximum contrast, also of the shapes of the letters, all this. And if you look at each of this is something to keep in mind here. If you look at the letters carefully here, I'll see so I can show you on camera. Sometimes the pattern of the wood, no two are quite the same, and that's very important for you to keep in mind. Here with the S, for example, the slight wood grain goes on a bit of an angle, right? And the straight lines. Here on the L, it's more of these circles. You can see there's a little bit of a circular, not straight lines, and there's almost a center of almost like the center of a piece of wood. That's sort of rounded. Here, there are more pronounced lines going on a certain angle. And here on the B, for example, you'll see the lines are going not an angle or in a circle, they're going straight across. No two pieces are quite the same. And when I was really trying to study and to make sure that these gimmicks here were beautifully printed and were going to be a very, very close match, really wanted to be a great match on these, it was very important for me right off the top. I realized that there were no two pieces the same. Okay, and you're going to find here as well that on these gimmicks, the B, the lines go across, and with the W, they go diagonally, okay? So no two are quite the same, and that actually sort of affected the choice about how to print these and exact sizing and all that kind of stuff. Now, most of these are different letters, okay? They're mostly different, except you've got 2 doubles up, right? You've got 2 W's and 2 B's. And to prepare the gimmick, all you're going to do, and we'll assume you want to do this more than once too, is you're going to get a pair of scissors, and you're going to cut out, say we'll start with the B, okay? Going to cut out the B here, and what you want to do is make sure you don't cut too close. If you want to deliberately leave some breathing room, so I even suggest, what you might want to do, is leave a little bit of white. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it just a little bit of white around the outside of the B, okay? Here and here, and once you've cut this out, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect straight lines, and I'll show you why in just a second. So once I've cut out the B, okay, this is when I peel. And again, if you're like me and you have the world's shortest fingernails, it'll take you a beat. But even I, with my crazy little fingernails, am able to peel, okay? And then I take this and I turn over the B, okay? And on the back of the B, so here's my B, the tile as they call them, or piece. On the back here, I'm going to take this and carefully, now we deliberately got a pretty strong adhesive. Now, I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to show you exactly, and you're going to find it's deliberately designed. I'm going to try to make this one edge really clean for starters. And you could do it super, if you want, let me just show you how to take it to the next level of this. If you're finding your finger, you can take a playing card, literally, right? Put this on the corner, the very corner of the playing card. And you don't require this. You could use a business card or whatever, but you can do it barehanded too if you want. But see what I've done here? I've stuck this on the very corner. That means now it's very easy for me to lay this down here, make sure that line across that edge is there and there like that. Okay, I pressed that down. Right down, flat, really firm on there like that. And I've deliberately left, because I wanted to make sure I left room. There's a little bit of a lip on one side and on the top there, okay? Now, then you take your pair of scissors, and I find the way to do this is to have the label on the bottom side. Carefully cut the edge off. Carefully cut the edge off, and that's why it's so important when you first stick this on here. Now, the reason we included not 1 or 2, but a total of 6 of these is because it's like doing a trick with a playing card or anything else. You're going to find a little bit over, dozens and dozens of performances. There might be a little bit of wear and tear. So in that case, you'll maybe want to remove one of the labels. All right. What I've done is I've removed one of the labels. Here we go. I've removed one of the labels, and I then take a little sandpaper when I want to replace one of these. A little sandpaper here. Okay. Now let's see when the camera closes in on this. Where are we? Do it there. There. Maybe there's the best shot. Okay, like that. So you're going to find, let me put these side by each here. So you'll see how amazingly close, okay? How really, we went to great pains to make sure that the four color copies were going to be a really pretty and strong match. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, and this is a funny thing. I'm going to tell you right now, when you first do this, if you're like me, when I first get a new gimmick and I'm messing around with particularly this kind of gimmick, you're going to look at this, and if you ever think to yourself, how close does this really look like the real B? Well, you wait when you're messing around with these very soon. Remember, I told you this is what's going to happen. You're going to, at one moment, and you know about the gimmick. You know that one of them now is a double-sided Scrabble piece, okay? And what's going to happen is when you mess around with this the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, you're going to be messing around and shaking and doing different things. And at one point, you're going to reach down to pick up the gimmick, and you're going to go, oh, that's not the gimmick. The gimmick's over here. You're not even going to know. You're going to make a mistake at some point, even though you know the gimmick, and even though you're looking for it. You're looking for the gimmick. This is why it's so important that these pieces are examined at the beginning. Because when they're examined, people are absolutely convinced they're ordinary, so they're not even looking for a gimmick. But you're going to be looking for the gimmick. You're going to even know what it looks like, and even you, when you casually handle these, are going to get confused. So this is my attempt to try to reassure newer magicians who think, who are going to go like this and go, is the way that light hitting, are people going to believe? They're going to totally believe. Okay, so when you get fooled the first time, remember, you know about the gimmick, you know what it looks like, and even you got fooled when you were looking for it, let alone a spectator, a layperson who's involved in a whole bunch of things, and you're in a performance, they've examined the pieces, etc., etc. So it's important that you keep that psychology in mind. Another tip I wanted to give you about creating the gimmicks here is that once you've put, again, I got confused here. Once you put the, where are we going? There we are. Good, okay. This is the ungimmick side, the original B side, and this is the gimmick side. Like I said, I often get them confused. And what I've done here is what you'll find once you cut off the label, once you cut off the sticky paper, or once you've stuck it on and you've trimmed it with a pair of scissors, sometimes you'll see, and right off the bat, the very first time you apply the gimmick, a thin white line showing the very edge of the label, okay? Now, no one's looking for this, but what I've found applying these things for a while now is if I just take my fingernail and kind of scratch, you don't want to tear it as such, but scratch, and even just a little bit of spit, like this, soften it in here and kind of do this, and rough up that edge a little bit and do this. Not only does the white vanish, okay, but the edge of the label does a really nice job of starting to just kind of form, really starts to grab that final edge of the Scrabble piece. And I find it's got a little bit of a finishing touch here. And boy, it blends it in very nicely indeed to a point where, man, pretty much absolutely, even if you're looking for it, it is an imperceptible melding of the full-colored label and the actual Scrabble piece. I've come up with a bunch of different ways to start this trick, but one of my favorite opening lines is to just say, hey, you guys, you like playing games? Yeah? I like all kinds of games, like video games, I like board games, I also really like Scrabble. Problem is, I got a full set years ago, and then I lost a piece, I lost a few more pieces, and a few more pieces, and now I'm down to this. Just down to a bunch of pieces here, and I hand out a few of them to someone, take a look at those, and I give the rest to somebody else, and I say, take a look at those. So they're examining the pieces, and while they both totally examine the pieces, my hands are empty, right? I say, along with that, we're also going to use this card case. And I say, look, let's try this. I'm going to start dropping the pieces they just examined inside the case, okay? Now, then I hand them the case, and they give a shake. I shake them around, they start spilling them out on the table. Now, that's my favorite way to start this trick. My hands are shown empty, apart from the pieces. They examine all the pieces, and then we go from there. Now, this has fooled, I can't even begin to tell you, hundreds and hundreds of people when I've done this, okay? And the reason why it fools people and why it's so fair is because the one gimmick piece I need isn't even in the first batch they check. Okay, now let me show you exactly what I did here. I have my card case, okay? And then I have my gimmick piece, in this case my B, okay, with my double-sided B. I have that together in my pocket or in my case, whatever, in my close-up case, but often just in my jacket pocket. And I do the line about all the Scrabble pieces, and I come out here and I show these pieces, and I hand some to this person, I hand some to that person, maybe a few to this person, and while everyone's examining the pieces, first, nobody knows what the other person was examining, okay? Second, nobody's noticing how many pieces I'm starting with. People just know there are a bunch of pieces, okay? So they don't notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They don't notice I'm only starting with 7 pieces, and I bet you didn't either when I showed you this. And that's the kind of thing you need to keep in mind about this, is you and I have secret knowledge which totally influences how we're experiencing this. People don't. So I hand out the pieces to a few different people, nobody notices. Then, when I go to my pocket to get the case, I simply palm my double-sided piece. I get that in my hand. It's not, or I could even bait up my left hand and notice, just in picking these pieces up and putting them in my hand, I'm gathering them. I've secretly added, without really any sleight of hand, the double-sided B piece. And yet people would swear they examined all the pieces involved. Okay? So that's probably the easiest way. Alternatively, notice, not with a glass, I'm going to suggest using a glass too, not with a glass, but with the card case, you could even start with the double-sided piece inside the case. Nobody knows it's in there. Hand out these pieces, someone looks at this, or I've even handed many times all the pieces to one person in particular. And they look at the pieces and they make sure, and if you think for a second anybody's remembering, there's a U, there's an O, there's a C, there's a W, there's an S, and they're thinking, but there's no B, they're not remembering, they could maybe remember 3 of the letters, not all of them. And they sure as hell are not remembering how many exactly. 6, 8, 9, who knows, who cares. So you can literally take all these back, put them inside the case with no palming whatsoever, and you're still 100% ready to go with the double-sided piece inside, okay? Now, alternatively, it all depends on your level of sleight of hand and your performance style. Of course, it'd be very easy for you to actually have the real piece, the real B in place, okay? And let's say you wanted to start by doing the revelation of the 2 of clubs that involves all these pieces. You could do that. Then you could have them all examined, okay? And then I've got this palmed, easily gotten, putting away napkins, markers, the deck of cards, getting the card case, lots of opportunities to get this in a simple palm. And then having done that trick, I can even start putting them away, right? As if we're done with that trick. And on the last one, I pick up the B, slip it into a thumb palm, drop my double-sided B in like this, and I could even right now add them to the glass, okay, and say, let's try something else, okay, and we go from the reveal of the playing card into now, and again, they would swear they examined all the pieces involved, but you've switched out, okay, your gimmick B, you've switched in the gimmick B for the ordinary B, okay. A few other thoughts about the switching is, first, if they've been examined at the beginning, they don't need to be examined at the end. Sure, with sleight of hand, you could ring in the gimmick and ring out the gimmick, but what a waste of time. They only need to examine them once, which is why I love doing it at the beginning. Now, what about the repeat? What about if you want to not just predict one letter, but a second letter? Because like I mentioned in the introduction here, there are going to be lots of people whose first thought, even if they don't say it, is do that again. It's one of the things about a very, very powerful trick. A trick like this that it has no explanation, where they do everything involved, is they can't help but think, man, love to see you do that one again, right? So for this, you're going to need, obviously, in this case, you're going to want to see, I told you, I often have a hard time finding the gimmick. You're going to need not only your double-sided B, but you're also going to need a double-sided W, okay? okay? A double-sided W for that. So let's say I'm going to use both gimmicks in this, okay? And I've got over here, so I've got my double-sided B, I've got my double-sided W, and I've got these. If I want to do the repeat, okay, what do? Well, let's assume we're using the glass, okay? Using the glass. And let's assume rather than doing a switch off the top, we're doing, which I think is the best method of all, is we're not even having the regular B involved, okay? We start with these, right? Take these out, have these examined, someone's looking at those, someone else looking at those, making sure they're all ordinary. And I don't say, make sure these are ungimmick pieces. I say, you know, after I've lost so many pieces, this is all I have left. Look at these, look at these. Now, let me tell you, take a close look at them. Do they look like fish? Look at both sides of all of them. Look at the corners. Do the corners seem sharp? What do you think? They don't look like fish, right? They don't look like Monopoly pieces, do they? Take a close look, because you know I'm a magician. So I don't say make sure they're not gimmicked. I don't say make sure there's only a letter on one side of each piece, but I give them every reason to closely examine the pieces, okay? While they're examining the pieces and have someone else examine the glass, well, it's very easy for me to slip my hands in my pockets or put away a marker or whatever and get, let's say we'll start with the B, get the gimmick B ready to go, right? Okay, so I pick up all these pieces, drop them inside the glass. We've done all that. Have someone shake. So this old process of elimination works every time. And you can do it with a takeout cup. You can do it with a glass. You can do it in the spectator's own hands. They can shake and do it. Do it in the card case. Now, strictly speaking, in the card case, they don't turn around. There's not room inside the case for one of these pieces to neatly turn over, okay? But it's when they dump them on the table. That's when everything happens. Now, the premise here used to be with an old double-headed quarter, and I liked it, but now you can't necessarily borrow coins that are going to look the same from every state, and a double-headed quarter to force a date, for example, on a coin is a very tiny detail. This is a big detail. So I've secretly rung, and they've examined everything, then I added the piece, asked them to shake it. Now, we're going to get to predictions in another part of the video, and then ask them to put them down on the table. And the idea is we're going to get rid of every one of the face down pieces every time, leaving us with our B and our L in this instance. Pick them both up again, shake, and of course, whether it's one throw or three throws, it's just to pick them up again. It's just a matter of time before, of course, the L lands the wrong way up. There it is there, and you're down to your B. Beautifully forced your B in the most organic way while the spectator did everything. I love that, okay? Now, we've done it the first time to reveal our B. What happens if you want to immediately repeat it? This is what we've been talking about here on, okay? So here's what I do. Very simply. Well, they've been shaking and dumping and shaking. Again, very easy for me to, whenever I want, to get the double-sided W, right, in my palm, right? I can easily get that C if I want to do the repeat. Don't think you have to. I often do not repeat this, but if I want to, okay, then I say the B, and before I reveal my first prediction, okay, I'll often then say, for drama's sake, is I turn these over, and I say, remember, you could have stopped me. It's a great way to really sell the fairness of this. You could have stopped me at the O, or you could have shaken. It could have been the O, the U, the L, the C, the T, the S, even the W, but it was the B, and I'm done. At the very end, the last W, I pick up my W, do the thumb palm switch, right? Take the real one, put it in switch, drop that in there, put those off to the side, reveal the B if I want now, and aren't I 100% set now, okay? I'm in that situation, boom, like that. Now, if I'm going to get a second prediction ready, and I get a piece of paper and whatever like that, that's when I pick this up, and I just palm this and pretend to add this to these others, okay? You can do that. Okay, you can pretend to palm this out here, okay, your B, because obviously what you don't want is two double-sided pieces in the mix. That's not going to work, right? So you steal out the B, or if you want, again, getting paper and pen and marker, you can again switch out the double-sided B for the ordinary B, okay? Either way. Let's see I've done that, okay? So you can have this in finger palm, so as you're picking them up, you do your switches, add everything together, then shake, and you're once again set to force now, not the B, but this time you can force the W. When it comes to switching in and out the double-sided pieces, it's really about a few things that are more about your personal, first your skill level. what kind of switches are you comfortable doing, right? Second thing is pocket management. If you want to have, if you want to do the repeat, for example, you're going to maybe want the 2 pieces in your right pants pocket, and then keep all the loose pieces either in a clear plastic baggie that they come in, that I've shipped them to you, or you could have them in a nice cloth bag, or even just commit them to a pants pocket. So in one pants pocket, you've got the 2 pieces, the 2 gimmicks you're going to switch in. Or, like I said before, you really, since if you do the first thing I suggest, which is secretly ring in, let's say the double-sided B, have 7 pieces examined, then secretly ring in the double-sided B when you put it in there like that, then at that point, I mean, it's even easier to do. It's about pocket management and your skill level. But, the great thing about all this, or the card case, we have one already inside the card case. There's so many choices, and they all involve the most basic sleights. And what's important to me is the routining, is that because they say you're doing a prediction on a paper napkin or on a business card, and getting a pen out, maybe you're doing a live psychic thing, there's so many excuses to go to your pockets to put things away that ringing in and out of the double-sided pieces is super easy. I try my very best to incorporate as much improvisation into my performances as I possibly can. Works in a few ways. First, that keeps me on my toes. It excites me and it keeps me real, keeps me in the moment instead of just phoning in the performance. The audience also picks up on that. And when they feel my excitement, when the fact that I don't think he's the sense that this isn't all just a routine for him. There's something new here. He's really responding to the situation, responding to us. That's very powerful for people. And if I can tailor the performance to something in the situation, that works so well too. So let's imagine here you're going to force the beat that you're going to have, like we know with this. All the pieces are going to be examined. Someone's going to shake them, and they're going to impossibly arrive at a letter that you know in advance. There's a million ways to make this effect stronger and improvised, and really nail people with this using something in the space. For starters, one of the simplest things is you just whisper the prediction. There's no pen, no paper, no napkin, no business card, nothing. Just the pieces, a glass, even just the pieces in their hands, so organic. And before you even start, you lean over to someone, you tell everyone, I got a sense. I'm going to whisper something in this person's ear. Maybe you even use that line that I mentioned in the preview for this trick, which is, a person's eye is like a crystal ball. If you look deeply enough, you can not only see their past, but also a glimpse of their future. And so you see this person, let's say it's a woman, I lean in closely, getting a sense, I'm going to have you do something. I don't even tell them what I'm going to do. I don't even mention the Scrabble pieces. I'm going to have you do something several times in just a moment. And even though you're going to have a totally free choice, and in fact, even though the control is going to be literally out of your hands in gravity, and this table right here, this solid table, is going to have an impact on the results, I think I just got a sense of your future. Maybe you turn to somebody else, or maybe you turn to her, whatever, and you just lean in and you whisper, B. You say, wait a second, I'm going to tell you one more time. B. That's it. No one knows what you're doing, and only one person heard the whisper. So there, without any props, without any visual elements, you've made this very dramatic thing. You've whispered something into someone's ear. And then you go from there, and at the very end, they arrive at the B, and then you turn to the spectator at that point who said, tell me, for the very first time, what was the letter of the alphabet I whispered into your ear? And she or he goes, B. Boom. So impossible, okay? So that's a very simple way to do it. Another way is to send a text. Everyone's got phones these days, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll go to the table, do a couple of things, say, let me try something, meet someone. I say, to tell you, if you wouldn't mind, give me your phone number. I'm going to send you a text right now, and I'll explain it in a moment. And in fact, it's going to be a text with just, let's say, maybe 5 words. No, maybe 4. Maybe just 1 word. No. In fact, I'm going to text you just 1 letter. 1 letter. I'm going to text it right now to you. And you send a text with just the B, okay? And you make sure it's their phone's face down and everyone hears it arrive, but you say you can't look at it yet. So the prediction is waiting on the phone of somebody else. On their property, you've sent this prediction. So dramatic and organic and lots of room for humor and spontaneity and all that stuff. So that's another thing I've done many times. Of course, writing a prediction down. You just write it right there. Pick up a piece of paper right off the table. You got a marker. Get a sense here like this, and you write it down. And the cool thing about this, let's say I'm going to go for the W this time. You write it down here like this, and you have someone hold on to it. So something off their table or off the bar stool right there that they're holding in their hands. So organic, okay? And then boom, they open it up at the end, of course, and you get that. They don't even know what it is. And that's what I like about that, is rather than picking up the phone and having to tell people or the whisper, they don't even know what it is until the last letter is sitting on the table. And then they or you open it up. Beautiful. Now, notice if you want to do the repeat, okay? And when I do the repeat, I don't do it every time, that's for sure. I often don't do it. But if I'm going to do that repeat, I can either then now take this and say, let me try it. You want to try it again? And this is why I never tell them I'm going to do it twice before I start, because I want to have that after that impossible ending where, oh my God, he predicted a letter and we examine all the pieces. How could he have done that, etc., etc. I want to have a sense that the trick's over and that there's a lull in focus and attention, that everyone thinks he's going on to another trick. That gives me plenty of psychological misdirection to ring in the other piece, the other doubles, to either switch out or switch in, do whatever I want for that second piece, okay? And that's very important. So you get that lull, and that gives you room when you get either putting away the napkin or the marker, or putting away the, put the cards back in the card case, because the second time you're going to do it in the glass. All that stuff is perfect misdirection. Gives you plenty of opportunity to do the switch if you have to do that switch to repeat the trick, okay? Now also what you might want to do, so to do it again, say let me try it again. And here, you cross this out in front of them, you look in someone's eye, and maybe you even turn this over. Now I'm going to, let's say I'm going to do the B now, and I do it on this side, I'm all set to go. Or I can add a magic moment. If I'm using a smaller, either let's say a piece of paper from my notepad here, which of course crumbles when I crumble this up, my first prediction here, it's so small now, easy for me to switch this. So I can finish the first trick, show the prediction, boom, there's my W. Ball it back up, I'm putting away my stuff, and I switch this for another crumpled piece of paper with a W on it, or with the next letter on it, and I have that off to the side. As if I'm done with that, I put away my things, and I'm looking at it and I go, and I can even go on to another trick, notice. Then come back to this and say, would you remember that Scrabble piece? You guys seem to really find that pretty shocking. Do you want to try it one more time? Okay, and you do it one more time, and this little piece is still sitting just a foot off to the side there. And then when you reveal the last one like that, you go, oh, so this time you got this letter. Do you remember my prediction here? And you just snap your fingers directly over that and say, I don't want to touch it, you open it. And so you have this impossible mentalism, this prediction, combined with a transformation of one letter to another on a piece of paper that was on the table from the very beginning. So you can do this whole routine where one thing goes to the other. There's a whole bunch of, so other prediction ideas. Have it on a dollar bill, a $10 bill, $50 bill. Write the letter, or have it say, "Here's my prediction. If I'm not right, you get to keep the money." Organic, engaging, powerful, down to earth, trustworthy. Nothing doesn't have that magic shop trick feel to it, So that's a very commercial way to do it. Your business card. I'm going to write something down real time, and I think there's a lot to be said, certainly practically, to have the prediction written beforehand. Okay, I'll say on the dollar bill, it's written, you hand it to somebody, it's folded up neatly, they hold on to it. However, there's also a lot to be said for making the prediction in real time, in front of people. Again, that sense that you're engaging them, you're responding to them. And Susan's been crazy for the last couple of tricks. Susan, I'm going to try one last thing with you. Let me look in your eyes. I'm going to get a sense. Okay, want you to concentrate. We're going to see how this goes. And right in front of them, make the prediction. Okay, so there's a lot of value in that. So if you combine that with your business card, take out one of your business cards. And you don't say, hey, who wants one of my business cards? Who's going to hire me for your bat mitzvah? You just take it out, write the prediction down, put it flat down the table, and reveal at the end and leave the card on the table. And people always put it in their pocket and take it home, okay? And so that's not going to hurt. And, do I get a gig from every business card I've handed out? Absolutely not. But have I gotten many gigs over the years from business cards in those situations? I sure have. So, it's a great way to incorporate a little bit of self-promotion in that. As I mentioned, you can have it on a notepad as well. Another way that I think is really cool as a revelation is to just have the B or the W pre-written on a playing card, okay? So what you can do is force the card just before you want to go into this, okay? You have this in your pack, force it on someone, make sure no one sees the face, say just put your hand under that. We'll get back to that in a second. Now, I don't know if you like playing card games and poker and bridge and things, but I bet somebody here likes to play Scrabble. Oh yeah, and then you segue into that, and at the very end, everyone's forgotten that Mark had a card under his hand. It's been a minute or two, or that Mark was holding a card between his hands, or that Mark had a salt shaker on top of this card off to the left, whatever. And that way you don't even raise the notion of a full-on prediction. You just go from this card thing, or maybe you did a card trick. Then force this as sort of, we'll come back to that. Head into the Scrabble thing. Everyone's forgotten about the card. At the end, when you arrive at the one thing, you go, wow, great job. And what do you mean, great job? It's just a letter. Well, I gotta say, I think you're the one with some psychic ability. So you turn it around. Rather than you're the one who's got the powers, they do. And that's the only that would explain it, actually, because, Mark, didn't you have a card under your hand? And I got to warn everybody that that card in my pack, I always keep one card with one letter written on the face of the card. So now you got a couple of things. How did Mark actually find the card with one letter? And imagine if that letter matched the one piece of Scrabble that Susan shook in a and down to eliminate. So you got this double climax feel. Then Mark turns this over and the place blows up. Okay, so that's another way to reveal the forced card, even without going to a second prediction. The second, I think it's nice to know you can repeat something, and sometimes it works perfectly, particularly when they say, when they go, do that again, or what would have happened if, then you can go into that. But like I said, I don't do the repeat a lot. It's nice to know it's there, but there's so much magic, so much power just in doing this trick once as well. I've been playing around with the Scrabble pieces now for a couple of years. Really excited to share a whole bunch of these ideas and gimmicks with you guys. And one of the things I came up with is a nice handling of the classic 6 force. Now, typically, if you're not familiar with this, the 6 force, let's say you're going to use it to force a playing card, okay? Force a playing card. So you need 6 items. Now, notice, how are we doing for the camera here? Pull this back, pull that back a little bit. There we go, we'll do that. Okay. Now, if I want to force one of the 6 cards here we go. Let's say I want to force the 8 of hearts, all right? As long as the 8 is in a position that's either 3rd from this side or 3rd from this side, I can force it no matter what number they make. If you ask someone to name a number between 1 and 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, their choice, I can force the 8. Now, here's the way this works. If I want to force, remember, okay? Now, if this is face down, I want you to imagine this is face down. Let's say they say 3. Well, of course, I can just go, number 3 is the one you want. 1, 2, 3. That's easy, okay? Now, let's say they say 4. Well, of course, I just count from over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, I get that nice, clean force. And remember, normally it'd be face down. I'd say, I got some cards. Name a number from 1 to 6. They say 3. I go 1, 2, 3. Here's the card. That's the way I force it. Or if they say 4, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Fine. But the 6 force is traditionally a spelling force as well. So if they say, I say name a number 1 to 6. If they say 1, and I go, okay, O-N-E spells 1. Here you go. Okay? Or if they say 2, I can go, well, T-W-O spells 2. There you go. 3, of course, we do the number. 4, we do the count. 5, we spell again. Well, 5 is F-I-V-E, 5. Same with 6. They say 6, I go S-I-X, 6. So whether you're counting or spelling, you can force this card. But to go from playing cards to spelling 6 or spelling 5 is a bit of a jump. There's certainly people can kind of go, there can be a sense that that was a bit of a dodgy move. There's something suspicious about that. You lay out 6 items, someone says 1 to 6, and all of a sudden you're spelling rather than counting. Now, you don't mention I'm going to count to it, but it's still not as convincing, which is why I love this. Okay? I was really happy when I realized, Scrabble is all about spelling words. It's all about spelling. So if you've got the Scrabble pieces and you ask someone, I gotta ask you a question here, are you a good speller? They don't, and you're opening this psychological door now. Are you a good speller? And they say, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And you could even have them spell something. Okay, spell taciturn, or spell onyx. You can have a little bit of some byplay there. And you say, and then you go into Scrabble. I've been losing pieces over the years. I'm just down to these pieces. I got 6 pieces here. Actually, do me a favor here. I'm going to move them around. And as I move around, I want you to say stop whenever you feel like it. Okay, here we go. Move them around. Moving around, and I'm going to force the B on them. That's what I want to do. I want to force that B on them. And as long as I'm moving them around, the B is either in this position or in this position, I can always do it. So notice I can move these around and move these around and move these around, and as long as I can do some big moves, and as long as I always leave the B either here or here, there's a strong sense of he's moving them around until we said stop. And as soon as they say, as soon as they say stop, I stop. Now, because I'm talking about spelling, because I've got Scrabble pieces, if I have to go into the spelling, it's a lot more organic. It's not as suspicious as it is with a bunch of other objects. So here I say, great, name a number between 1 and 6. And if they say 3, I go, all right, 1, 2, 3, boom. They say 4, I say 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. Okay, totally organic. If they say 2, I say, well, I want to see just how good a speller you are. Spell 2 for me. And they go T-W-O, obviously. I go, okay, T-W-O, perfect, okay. Same with, say if they say 1 or 6, I can totally get to the B every single time. So here's a way you can force without using the gimmicks, the double-sided. If you want to incorporate this into a bigger routine where you start with this, then going into the shake kind of thing. Or after all the shaking, you want to do something when after you've done your switch, you want to do one more really clean. You can use this classic spelling force with the Scrabble pieces in a way that's far more convincing than it usually is. With Spellbound, you can also perform a very sweet transposition, not between cards or coins, but simply between two Scrabble pieces, right? You got the B and the W. Take the W, drop it inside the case, close that up, and again, they can hear it, nothing suspicious. In goes the W. And now the B, you can hold the B at your very fingertips here, okay? And just by rubbing the B with the other fingers, look, boom, just like that. You get the W, and now, of course, if the W is here, you can have the spectator come on over and open the card case, and they open the card case. They spill out inside, they find the B. The case can be examined. Both Scrabble pieces can be closely examined. Just an absolutely perfect mystery. I love the transposition. Now, you can do it in the card case. You can have that in the spectator's hands. You got a whole bunch of options. And what I'm using here is kind of surprising, but yes, if you want to get a few more Scrabble pieces, okay, either commit one of the Scrabble pieces included, or from your own set at home, what you can do is you can make, with the W and B stickers again, what you can do is get one of the Scrabble pieces, and you can have it, say, an O on one side and a W on the other, and basically create a copper-silver Scrabble piece, okay, and you can use that with two other Scrabble pieces, all for 3. But here, just keep it clear. You don't have to necessarily use the copper-silver idea, because here all I'm using is the double-sided B gimmick, okay? You've made it, barely looks like I'm turning over, but you've made this double-sided B gimmick, so you may as well use it double duty anyway, right? So what you're doing is you're starting, you got the W and the B, okay? And here's, in this situation, what I advise you do is have them examined at the end, all right? So here, if you're just going to use this in separation, or maybe you could do this before, either just before going into the other, maybe one of the prediction tricks I teach on this project, or maybe you could do this as a kicker afterwards. The idea being, well, we did something sort of involving your mind, now let's involve something involving your own hands and see how strong you are, that kind of thing. And all I have to do is switch. I've got my ordinary B here, okay? I've got my two Scrabble pieces. I pick up my W, and I just put the W in thumb palm, a very simple thumb palm, and then drop that in there. They hear it, they can hold on to that in their hand. Very fair, very straightforward. You just have the regular W in thumb palm. Now I pick up the gimmick B, and I'm just going to use this here like this, and I've got a few options here, okay? One thing I could do, of course, is have the spectator hold up their hand, okay? I can take like this, say, hold out your hand for me, and as long as this is face down, what I can do is I say, and in fact, since I've got the W in the case, I'm going to have you hold on to the B. And I just do a shuttle pass, transferring the B over to here, and then put this in their hand face down, and of course, it's the W. And the trick is already over, okay? Even though everything's fair, they saw you put the W in there, they see the B, they see your hand is empty apart from the piece, they see your hand is empty apart from the piece, everything looks so fair, you can even pick this up here like this, okay? So now either in my own hand I can do this, boom, the B is just changed to the W, or put this in their hand, boom, put that, or do the slightly more visual version I did, using the classic idea of Divernon's Spellbound, right? I've got my B here, gimmick, and I'm not even using it as a gimmick, kind of fun. And again, if you just want to, you could keep this B totally ungimmicked, right? You can keep this B, so neither of your B tiles are totally ungimmicked, but that would mean that you'd only be able to do the prediction trick where they shake it in the glass once with a W. Okay, but if you want to do it twice, then you can gimmick this B, but this particular trick, this transposition, doesn't even use the gimmick. Okay, so you just got the B here, and I've got my W here, and I'm going to come over and, I can maybe do it from a clip, say. If I did it from a clip from here, then it's going to look very pretty as I come over, and I'm going to kick it up with my thumb. Combine those at the same time, and you get this really pretty look where there's the B, combine, kick that up with my thumb, and change to the W. Okay? But I wouldn't worry which way is facing up. A simple finger palm works too. We've just got empty hand. There's the B. Come over, give a little rub with my finger, and they can sort of see the B. Empty hand. Real magic. Okay? Looks beautiful. All right? And then all focus goes to here. You can take this off and go south with this, whatever you want. Either way, what you end up with is where you want, which is this either very visual or in their hand or in the card case, inexplicable transposition of the W and the B, okay? And again, they end clean, they can be examined, all that stuff. Really strong piece of magic. Another classic force in magic, very much like the number 6 force I was just talking about, is the crisscross force. I absolutely love the crisscross force, and it's one of these things that beginners use it and they get away with it and they love it, and advanced and experienced magicians use it and they love it. It's the intermediates that so often get caught up in too much technique, or they start to doubt that things will work and these kinds of things, or once they learn the secret, some intermediate magicians figure, oh, now it's going to be obvious as well. Or even beginners will do this, where they learn the secret, they go, oh, is that all it is? Well, I guess it's going to be obvious to other people too, and they forget it fooled them very badly the first time they saw it. And so the crisscross is very much like that. If you got, say, a 2 of clubs here on top of the deck, right? And you ask someone, you say, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go over and I want you to lift off some cards, okay? I want you to cut the pack, not too close to the top and not too close to the bottom, because who knows, I'm a magician. Maybe I can do tricky things with the top and bottom. But anywhere you want, about in the middle, okay? It could be 20 cards, 30 cards, 30, whatever you want. But I want you to reach over, pick up some cards and put them right down there like that. Go ahead. And so you have them reach over, cut off some cards, put right down. Then I pick up this part, this half, and I say, okay, I'm just going to mark the exact spot where you cut, okay? Like this. I want to make sure that's on camera here. So I basically, they've got to make sure we're still there. Yep. They lift off some cards, okay? And then that key line. Okay, I'm going to, do this very slowly. I'm going to mark the spot where you cut. And you leave that right there, okay? Boom, like that. So, and then of course, you time-lapse there, misdirect them for a few beats, talking about something else. And then you say, now look, at the very end here, I'm just going to lift this up here like this. And let's see the card you cut to. And I cannot tell you how deceptive that is and how I've used it a million tricks and people get fooled by it every time. So that's the crisscross force. Now if you combine the crisscross force with this very sweet reveal of the card, oh, you can get some marvelous reactions. I've actually closed shows, close-up shows with this trick. Even though it's super simple. In magic, when you reveal something, so much about magic is revealing. And one of the things I do with magic, and I often think about, is that I'm revealing things that are kind of in plain sight, in a sense. Do something incredible with a coin. Now, they've handled coins every day, but here you are taking an ordinary object and almost revealing that it has something magical about it, even to this day. Okay? So in the same way, this reveal here, where you've had someone, maybe you've done the 6 force with this, and maybe added in one after doing, you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are all 8 of the pieces, okay? So maybe after doing the 6 force with 6 of the pieces, you add in a couple of pieces. Let's say I'm going to add in something else, going to put a couple of pieces there, give it to somebody in their hand to hold on to while they cut the cards with the other hand, get this nice balanced theatrical image, right? So you're here, lift off some cards, and they're holding this in one hand. They come over here, and you're trying to almost suggest that there's a relationship, a hidden secret relationship between the pieces they hold in their hand and where they're going to cut the cards, right? You do the crisscross force, and we're talking about the time lapse required, okay? And of course, we've done the crisscross force. We got the 2 of clubs here, the time lapse now. So what's a good way to create the time lapse so that they sort of look away from here for a bit, forget the relationship between the 2 packets and where they cut, and then you come back? Well, great time lapse is to have them put the pieces on the table, have them turn them over one by one like that. Of course, to them, there's nothing going on there. And we're talking about revealing things, magical things, impossible things, okay, mysterious things in the revealing. So here you've got these letters here, right? And then, you could even be talking about that magic is about the revealing. of things that you normally, don't notice, but they're right in front of your eyes. So you do this and you pace it and time it so that only at the last beat do they realize, oh my God, wait a second, those pieces actually spell a playing card. 2 clubs. Hey, come over, take this off. And the drama, the tension, so pretty. And then revealing 2 of clubs, all right? Now, this raised the question, I often ask this in lectures with my students, and that is, you're kind of wondering, okay, what's the best order to do? Because notice, doing it from this, to have them pick a card, let's say use Classic Force or Riffle Force, whatever, go ahead, grab a card, they got a card there like that, it's on the table there like that. You go, okay, great. 2 clubs. To now, without saying a word, arrange these. There's this implication that what? Could he have arranged? And they know you couldn't have arranged those to get any card. So how did that happen? How did you know? What's going on? What's the relationship there? So doing it that way is cool. As is, of course, like I said, this notion of maybe forcing a card, having somebody hold their hands between their 2 hands, or it could be under a glass on the table. Nice image and drama there. And then say, okay, and they don't even know what the card is. That's what's fun about this, is if you do where they touch a card or riffle drop it on the table, now they don't, so they have no idea, one, that these letters are going to spell anything. You're not even suggesting they're just some Scrabble pieces. You're down to these after losing so many. And they've selected a playing card from a shuffled pack at Freeze Choice, all that stuff. So for you to now, rather than reveal the card and then spell it, to do the reverse, where you're like this. So it's like reveal 1 is, wait a second, they spell 2 clubs. What are the odds? And so in this case, I'm revealing the playing card to everyone at the second beat. And they both have real value and power, whichever approach you take.